Welcome to the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening, with your hosts Fran Cadron and Marina Theron-Monnery. For more information about Fran and Marina, or to apply to be a guest on the show, please go to our website www.hopenning.com. The Hopenning is for informal purposes only and is based on the research of your hosts, Fran and Marina. They, as well as their guests, are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from this podcast, which is not intended to replace any professional medical advice or care by medical professionals you are currently utilizing. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today at this episode number 80 of the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening. And we have a very special guest with us today, and her name is Marina, another Marina Simovic-Pava, and she's coming to us from New York. So Marina grew up in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and she was there during the war as a teenager, and that led her to eventually immigrate in her early 20s to the US, and she's coming to us from New York today. And Marina started her journey in alternative healing about 12 years ago. She was inspired to go onto this path because she believed in genuine connection and care about people. There's an element in this time and age that she found is lacking, and that is human touch and connection. So Flexhealing is the name of her brand, and it is established to provide full healing services, either through stretch therapy or emotional healing, such as Reiki. And then lately, she added aromatherapy as an extrasensory and aromatic experience that provides her clients with more relaxation and the unique experience. So welcome, Marina. We are so thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with another Marina and Fran.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't tell you, but I was in Bosnia only 2 months ago.
Oh, you were?
I was. And I know. And I told Marina, the other Marina, that I would go back like that in a heartbeat because the people were incredible there. The people were so genuine and caring and kind. And I see that in you, Marina, because of what you do. You combine so many different modalities in one, and you don't usually get that, right? And the healing touch. I would like to ask you about your journey, though. You grew up in Bosnia, and you were a teenager during the war. I knew very little about Bosnia until I went there, and I couldn't believe it because, I believed it, but it was a shock, right? Because Sarajevo was a city so much like Calgary, where Marina lives. It was so much like Calgary, and then there was this terrible war, and the people went through heartache and heartbreak and loss and grief so much. Can you just share a little bit about your journey from there and how you got to America and what spurred you on to become a healer yourself?
Sure. So thank you so much for visiting my country and speaking highly of it. It's been a while that I was back home, but reconnecting now through this conversation and thinking back, I grew up in a very small village, which was 4 kilometers away from the main city. And I have a brother. I have my mom and my dad, they still live there. So I grew up in an environment with a clean nature, with abundance of trees, clean water, amazing food. And but something along that way, somehow I felt that I don't belong in a small environment. Like my mind was expanding. I was open-minded. I accepted everybody and everything for who they are. And I just had a feeling that I had to leave, unfortunately, the country because I didn't see myself living there anymore. Even though I enjoy my childhood, I have friends and my family is there. But sometimes you get this intuitive knowing that it's not your place. And I had to leave. So I spent first 20 years in Bosnia-Herzegovina, living with my parents, going to school, finished 2 years of college. I was supposed to be a teacher, and I didn't. I finished 2 years of college, and I decided to come to New York. So I think the decision that led me to come to New York, it's my natural curiosity. I wanted to know about other people, how other people live. I also loved English. Even when I was back home, I was actually dreaming in English, which is really strange because my mom sometimes would wake me up and she said, Marina, you're dreaming and you're speaking another language. So I decided to come to New York, and I was in my 20s. I was really young, didn't have much of world experience. So I came here by myself. And it was very challenging. It was very challenging in a way that I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, even my English wasn't great. I had this like very thick accent. Even though I study English back home, it was challenging for me to understand, because it's one component when you study something and then when you practice it versus when you come here and you actually have communication skills. So I was babysitter for a while. I was an au pair. And then I called my parents and I said, I want to stay. I'm staying in New York. I don't know. I can't go back home after this experience. So this was the beginning of my journey in my 20s. I stayed. And this is where the story begins. I mean, at the beginning, it was very challenging to find a job, to have a secure place of living, because all demands in United States and New York especially, you have to have a good credit standing, and I didn't have that history of the credit. I didn't have many friends here. I just get to know city and some people here. And through this journey, even when I was back home, one of my passion was working out and being active and helping people through their health and wellness journey. So even back home, I was alluding that this is my passion and this is what I wanted to do in life. So coming to New York and deciding that it was just a continuation of something that I already had in me 22 years ago now. And I found this company online, which they claim that they help people how to stretch, how to improve their flexibility. And they were located in Florida at that point. But again, I'm a very intuitive person and I trust my instinct. And I said, well, it seems like you don't have a training in New York, but when you decided to come to New York, I would love to train with you and I would love to do this. And they called me after 3 months. They called me. I got training. I got hired immediately in a private gym in New York City. And this is how my stretching business started. I was there 7 days a week. I was working really hard. And then after that, I discovered I had one more gift, which was Reiki, which was more so emotional healing. And that's how my journey started. And it's still on the same path.
Such an interesting story. And you and I chatted last week, and you were telling me, being an immigrant and the challenges that came with that. And I can so relate to that. I can relate to so much of your story. You probably saw my big smile because I was the same. At a very young age, I knew that I did not belong in my home country. I had such a strong calling to leave. And that's why I'm in Canada today. So I could really relate. And also the story of your immigration. And you remind me so much of a phoenix rising from the ashes, because you had to create a life for yourself out of nothing. So
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, that was not an easy journey at all, because, when you don't have a basic security such as your home, a place of living, when you don't have parental support, my parents are back home, when you don't have friends, you're just here, you're making new friends, you creating a life for yourself, you're trying to decide what your career will be. I mean, I already had an idea and I already had that passion towards health and fitness and working out, but I didn't know where exactly will I be in 5 years going forward. It was always that kind of insecurity in the air. Where should I live? Should I pursue my passion, or should I do something else? Will it be profitable? What about the paperwork as far as my immigration status, when that will be resolved, and how would I go about it? And I experienced a lot of challenges. For so many people, when they think of immigrants, they think, well, certain things, it's easy, but I found certain things were really challenging for me. It's such a basic thing, such as getting an ID. It was a lot of challenge to prove my identity of who I am. I need to have a lot of paperwork to say, my name is Marina Simovic, and I'm here to stay. And I'm here to work, and I'm a hardworking, honest person. And that was, I have to say, that was the most challenging part for myself. And, all the other things, such an opening bank account, having a credit, having a better situation of a living or better apartment. So those are little things, but some people might think, well, that's irrelevant. It was kind of given to them because they're either born in the country, or they have a friend of a parent or a spouse or any kind of support system. I didn't have that. I was here by myself, and I still am. Well, currently I'm married, but I was alone for a very long time.
I totally can imagine how difficult that must be. Like I take it for granted. Most of us take it for granted wherever we live, that we wouldn't have to leave the country for whatever reason. So I'm grateful that you're here and you're able to share with us. You always loved body work. You always loved kinesiology, that type of working with the body. You must have had a background in it, because the types of healing that you do are not typical. They're not typical. They're very body oriented, and especially the Reiki, it's very energy oriented. But in order to do the stretch, can you tell us a little bit about a typical session that you would have with a client? Say sciatica. So, because sciatica is something that so many are plagued with, especially those of us that sit a lot during the day in front of a computer or driving or whatever it is that we do, that we have to sit a lot. Sciatica is terrible. It's a plague, I think, for North Americans. So if I came to you with a problem with sciatica, what would you do?
Well,
How would you diagnose?
That's an amazing question, because I have clients and a lot of clients who have sciatica pain, and it's challenging because that shooting pain can really affect your day-to-day life, and your movement and your mood and your overall wellness. When the client comes with me with that specific problem, I would look at the body holistically. I would see what's happening in their life that actually caused this, because sitting is not the only it's not the only thing that causes sciatica. There's other elements to it. And one of them, so since I see body holistically, I would approach them also from the emotional aspect of it. So I would ask, friend, is there anything emotional in your life that we need to talk about, or that you feel comfortable sharing with me that can cause this problem? Because from energetic point of view, sciatica is actually root chakra, is energy center where you're rooted, where you're seated. And if that's affected in any way, meaning if your existence is affected in any way, your home, your marriage, anything that makes you feel safe in this time and space and world, that sciatica can really reactivate energetically and cause pain. So that's from the energy point of view. From the movement point of view, it's lacking movements, a lot of sitting, not stretching, not just stretching in general, and also circulation. Now, circulation, again, I go to the energetic point of view. If there's not enough, or if there's a lack of circulation in the body, that means there's something in your life that is not circulating, that you don't have life in it. Meaning, how can I say this? So, for example, you decided to change your profession. You wanted to go and you wanted to do something else, but it was really against of what you wanted to do. It's really against of who you are. And now that affects your whole body, because when we go against something that is innately in us and that is our gift, and now we switch to something else that it's really not meant for us, your body also responds. Your body responds in many ways. It responds in joint pain, knee pain, hip pain, no matter what it is. And sometimes we don't listen to those cues, who are more so emotional versus physical. A lot of people, a lot of aches and pains in body, I believe, are mostly emotional.
You're so smart. You're incredible. It's like, I've tried to tell people this, right, Marina? The other Marina, we work with this all the time, and people don't want to believe it. Most people, and you're nodding, people don't want to believe that their bad back, their bad hip, their sciatic, their whatever there's an emotional connection. It's not just because I sit wrong or I have terrible posture or whatever. There is an emotional, I believe, right? I believe. And I'm grateful for you because, yeah, you second the motion, right? You seconded it.
Thank you.
So,
Absolutely. If I can just mention one example, I have a client who had a really bad knot in his back, and it was like a size of a plum on his back. And he would go to a massage therapist to break down that tension, that adhesion. And he would go for years and nothing would happen. And then he didn't really believe in Reiki, but somehow he surrendered. He came for a session, and I work around that, energetically, to release that tension, to release something that was stuck there for years. And I'm talking about more than 5 years. So after the session, he felt complete release. There was no more pain. The knot was gone. There was no more pain. And this is not for me to claim that, I heal certain things. The person was ready. It was in front of me. The healing happened when the person is ready, I believe. And since he was so apprehensive about it, he's also in New York, and he went climbing the stairs. There's like this subway station of 53rd Street, I believe. And he said, I wanted to test you. So I went to the stairs and I climbed, because usually when I climb, it hurts me, and nothing happened. So I lost the client because the problem is solved, but that was energetic of it. Like that was stuck in his body. That emotion was stuck in his body for years.
It's amazing. I love when we lose clients for the right reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. So Marina, I remember you telling me about your absolutely service to humanity, to the point where during the pandemic, you did not sit back, but you went out and you found people to heal. So tell us more about that.
So, as a person, I have always been intuitive and spiritual, and I knew that when I was a young girl. I live in a small city, but I don't know if you've heard of it. Right next to my little village, in my little city, there is a village called Medjugorje.
you didn't. Did you
Yes.
live in Medjugorje?
I lived very close to Medjugorje.
Wow, that's a healing site. I don't know if you know this one, Marina, but
No.
I mean, when our tour van passed Medjugorje, and I didn't have internet, right? I didn't have Google Maps. And it wasn't until later at the hotel that I'm like, oh my God, we went right past Medjugorje and I didn't even know it. You'll have to explain, because I don't think there's a lot of people that know about Medjugorje.
Yeah, so Medjugorje is a little village, but I really don't see it as a village now. It's like a little city where a lot of healing happens. So people from all around the world would come as pilgrimages, and sometimes they would walk from one city to another for hours just to come to experience that for themselves. So I went there several times, and I experienced really extraordinary things that I can't even mention on this live because they were so deep and they were so different. I would just call them different. This is maybe a conversation for another live. However, when I was there at my last visit, when I experienced that miracle for myself, and I'm truly sorry, but I can't share what happened. I really don't want to scare people. But this is where I believe my awakening happened. And this is where my intuition really developed highly. And I wasn't aware of that. I was going through life just like any normal human being. I would have jobs before I have this passion and this position that I hold now. And but sometimes you just know. When you know, there's no explanation to it. Why do you have a gift, and why certain things happen? So during the COVID, many people have a lot of challenges, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. There was a lot of conversation about moving to different countries, moving jobs, starting the family, divorces, all kinds of things. And I was a little bit scared, I have to admit, that not just because of the COVID, I was scared that I'm not going to be able to work because I didn't have an income. So I wasn't applying for any kind of unemployment, nor I was qualified to do that. So if I can work, I didn't know how am I going to in the world about it. But there's always a bigger plan. And a lot of people had my number, even those non-believers, and they just start calling me. People from Mexico, from Europe, from Florida. And all of a sudden, I was just booked. And most of the session, as you know, from the beginning were online or over the phone because I can do distance Reiki from anywhere in the world. But later on, I missed that human touch. I missed that human connection. And I wanted to hand my hand even further and help people because I know they were suffering. I know I had this like enormous courage in me. I felt like I was a lion roaring and I just wanted to help everybody. And at that time I live in Brooklyn, and I had a demand of people who wanted to have healing in person in New York City, which was a ghost town at that time. There was nobody on the street. I had 5,000 square feet yoga studio just for myself. There was nobody there, and I was working the whole time. I was completely booked.
Incredible.
And I'm really happy that I did that, even though, of course, this is my job and I was paid, but it was just a gift to humanity, to human spirit, to offer this help and to be when it's really needed. And remarkably, I really wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid if I'm going to get a COVID. I wasn't afraid if I'm going to die. I mean, I believe when it's time to go, we're all going to go one way or another. So yeah, that was my story during the COVID.
I love that you didn't go in hiding like so many other people, that you not surrendered to fear like so many other people, that you stepped out there and continue to help people. I think that is like you say, roaring lion, very courageous.
Yeah. Yes, it was challenging at the times, and thankfully I did have a protection. Nothing happened to me during the COVID. I got a COVID all the way at the end of the COVID. And I wasn't even getting it from a client. I got from a family member, well, my husband's family member, a little child who had a COVID. So it's interesting how life works that way.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about your husband, you have such an interesting story about your husband too.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the story. So do you mind if I share?
Of course, go ahead.
Okay. So I met my husband many years ago, and we were best friends for many years. But when I look back, I consider it was almost like a dating. You're getting to know each other, even that's your friend. We would still go out, we would have fun, we would laugh a lot. We're both foodies, so we go to different restaurants and enjoy food and drinks. And we had this special connection and bond from the first moment that we met. So how we met, it's a really interesting story because I came here just 1 year after 9/11. And I was supposed to actually arrive exactly on 9/11. And then thing happened, we know the tower in New York and everything else. And I didn't. So I came just a year after. And my husband my husband now, he lived in Tribeca, which is very close to the World Trade Center. So there was like a lot of debris and garbage flying in the air from the World Trade Center, from the catastrophe that happened. And unfortunately, during that time, he lost his sense of smell completely. So he couldn't smell. And I came year after, and we didn't know each other at that time. So we know each other now almost 6 years. And we both went to a networking event, health and wellness networking event in New York City. He couldn't smell. And at that point, I couldn't talk. I had laryngitis, and I went to a networking event. I don't know who goes to a networking event not being able to talk. But I had this sign, and on the sign it says, I can't talk. If you want to connect, this is my number. This is my information below. And, and it's interesting because even though people knew that I can't talk, they would still approach me and they would talk. And I was like, I can't talk. Like, can we connect after the event? And there was this tall guy, he was following me, like I felt his energy, he's everywhere. He was like, I'm going to call you. I am going to call you. I said, okay. So he was actually the first person I like that checked on me after I had that little bit of loss of voice. And we instantly connected. We just, our sense of humor was similar. We understood each other. We're both playful. He's an artist and a yoga teacher. And as you know, I'm a Reiki and a stretch therapist. So we had that commonality of health and wellness and well-being. He's such a great person. He's an amazing man, an amazing giver. He's really a giver. And he was always the person that I would call when something happened to me. And this was for me a sign. Why would I always call my best friend to tell him about my dates, tell him about my day, my friends? And he would so patiently listen to me. And I was like, are you hungry? Because we both had like very long days. You know, our job is usually evening time. This is like a peak time for us and for the clients. And I said, if you're hungry, if you wanted to eat, please, you know, we can have a conversation. No, I have to hear what happened to you. So we developed this bond, which was very special. And this was very recent, actually. And we connected in 2020. So we connected during COVID, during the peak time again. So there's a lot of significance in that, I believe.
So quite a serendipitous thing around 9/11, because that changed your life. You couldn't come when you wanted to come, and that changed his life, of course.
Yes.
So, and yeah, what an amazing story. I absolutely love it. And you got married on New Year's Eve last year, right?
No, we got married on Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah, I did write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Beautiful.
So you started using aromatherapy. So how do you use that in conjunction with the stretch therapy and with the Reiki? Like, I'm always interested in new stuff, right? Marina knows this. In the classroom, I would put, and all the way through COVID, actually, I would put essential oils in my diffuser. I see you've got a diffuser behind you. Yeah. And how do you use your aromatherapy in your practice?
Aromatherapy is such a gift to all of us. And a lot of people don't know that because they think essential oil is just one bottle and, you know, they diffuse it. That's the only way. But essence of the plants, extract of the bark, plant, power of the plant is very powerful and can be used in many ways. So one way, I can't live without this little diffuser in my home. You can diffuse it, of course, and it's a cold diffusion, and also clears up the air, especially like if you cook, or if you just wanted to refresh the air in the room, or if you have a problem sleeping, maybe put like a couple of drops of lavender to really put you to sleep. Lavender is a great tool for that. But beyond that, using it in my practice in stretching and Reiki is very powerful because it's intentional. So reading and having a client on the table, there's a different applications to it. So for example, if the person is going through a grief or is going through a hard period in life, there's a certain oil that you can actually use during Reiki, and there's a certain applications. Why that is because every bottle of the essential oil has a different frequency, and our body has a different energetic frequency. So when the oil touches the body, it works in a very magical way that the body will accept that, but energetically it will raise the frequency of you, of the person who needs the healing. And in this way, it would really promote the healing and the well-being of the person on the table. And they would have, the person would have feeling different. And they would ask me after the session, what is so different in our session? Did you use some essential oils? For example, there was a person, I always like to tell a story because story tells more than words and an explanation. When a person loses hope, and this is very significant, and they don't see, almost like a suicidal, and they don't see a way out. So there's essential oil which is called Believe, and with a great intention, with using the oils with a very high frequency, I would apply that on my hand, and I would have that intention of belief and hope and joy. And when I finished the session, the person would ask me, I don't know why, but I believe now that everything is possible. How is this happen? I came here in such a bad mood. I was so depressed. But what did you use on me? And I wouldn't say anything. I would just show the bottle. I said, believe? I can't believe it. I said, yes, you do believe it. So that's one of the ways how you can promote your health and well-being, through the power and essence of plant, of bark, of flower. And they are beyond somebody's imagination how much this oil can actually help and assist you in your healing.
Fascinating. I know in the Bible, right, when Jesus was born, they brought frankincense. I don't know what myrrh is, but frankincense for sure is important. I mean, it's an essential oil that I used a lot during COVID.
Yes.
Within the diffuser. What does frankincense do?
That's a really powerful oil in many ways, and it's mentioned in the Bible several times. So that's a very like if you're religious and you go to the church, frankincense and sage, you can smell frankincense and sage, and there's a reason for that, because energetically you cleaning the space from unwanted energies, from unwanted things that unfortunately do happen. When you are in a religious space, what happens is sometimes there's certain temptations. There's spirits, there's a certain bad energy, and especially of the places of high frequency, such as church, mosque, or places where people pray. Not everybody has a good intention. People come there with a different intention. So frankincense and sage really get rid of that unwanted energies, that to clear out the whole space, and of course assist people who are in that space. It's almost like a prayer. When you pray whatever you believe in, it raises also your energy, it raises your frequency, because now you are, I call it, now you're not in 3D, three-dimensional world anymore. Now you aspire to 4D, 5D, and even further on, where your frontal vortex opens, where you're creating different pathways in your brain. So this is what essential oil does. It really creates different pathways. It opens up your that center for meditation. I forgot the name for it, where you expand your mind further on, that what you usually would do in this real life. So frankincense is a father of the oils, and it assists you to connect further on with whatever you believe in.
I worked in a Catholic school for 34 years. So, I mean, we prayed a lot. We prayed a lot during COVID. The kids really wanted to pray a lot. I mean, they had a lot of people in their lives that they worried about, that had been affected by COVID. And I didn't even know what I was doing, but I knew that frankincense was powerful. And so I used it in the diffuser along with some other stuff that was very calming, like I think it was lavender or something like that. But it's helpful that I mean, you know a lot about it and the energies. I had no idea about the energies and how it affected the different chakras, right?
Yes,
Quite.
each oil can be used for different chakras, for balancing each chakra. For example, like you mentioned before, during COVID, I use cypress a lot because cypress is very grounding, and I would put it on the bottom of my feet. Frankincense, thieves, joy, abundance, belief, peace and calming. You know, this set of oils are very different. What I found in my experience during my sessions are very different versus the oils that you can find in a regular store, because it's outsources differently. Distillation process is very complex. I visit the farm. I saw how they distilled, how the distillation process goes. They use these oils even on horses to give them a special therapy, which is called raindrop therapy. And you should just see how calm are these horses and how divine they are in their being. I never seen such a beautiful, beautiful animals in my life, and the energy just by using these oils, how much that actually can help animal, not just humans. It's unbelievable.
I had some trouble with my kidneys over the last month, and I messaged a friend of mine who is also into oils, and I asked her, so what can I use? And she messaged back rosemary, and when I saw her the next day, she gave me a bottle of rosemary.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
so she said, put it on your feet and put it on your kidneys. So I've been doing that every day.
Did it help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. If you believe it.
Yes.
I believe it.
Very true. They're very helpful, you know, in a daily life to use them. They can assist in a healing. You can cook with them. You can make desserts. Like, of course, they have to be certain grade and a certain
right. Food grade, yeah.
applications how to use it. But they're beautiful, beautiful tool to have in everyday life.
Well, I just love the pure smell of it at all. It's not synthetic. It's not chemical. It's just so pure. Absolutely love it.
I'm glad you enjoyed them.
Oh, I want to know about cedar because in the Old Testament, it was there, it was everywhere, it was mentioned so many times. So what is what is it about cedar that was so powerful that they needed to use it in the temple? Like what is it? Is it
Well, cedar wood is also a very popular oil. It's very masculine. It has that musky and a little bit of oil, a little bit more oil texture. So when we go to sleep, and if we can't go to sleep or we have bad dreams, meaning, you know, our mind wanders or something that comes from our subconscious, cedarwood is a beautiful oil to use before you diffuse it in a diffuser before you go to sleep, to really help you to go into different kind of consciousness, especially in that, I think it's called REM.
Rapid eye movement. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially just before that, because a lot of people have a lot of nightmares or they have problems sleeping. And this is, again, coming back to COVID, a lot of people drank, unfortunately, during the COVID, and it was a tool for them to release certain emotions or to bury certain things that they don't want to remember. So when you go to sleep, you also kind of carry that with you, those emotions, those feelings, and that you dream about that. So there's a lot of fears, there's a lot of nightmares. So cedarwood is a great tool to open your subconscious to better things in life and to really open up your mind to something more beautiful, calming, soothing. And the application for cedarwood, the best application for cedarwood would be if you put, but again, it really has to have a label that you can ingest them. You can't ingest, I would never recommend anybody to ingest essential oils. I just want to have a clear conscious about that. So the oil itself, it has to have like a little label that says that you can ingest them, the grade.
Yeah.
Yes. And you would put it on here on the top of your tongue, and then you will connect this in your mouth, and you will put it on the roof of your, like this, on the roof of your
The palate.
the
Yeah.
palate. Yes. And the reason for that is, first of all, it's good for nightmares. It's good to sleep well, but also there's a connection with the mother. So when we were kids, we would suck our thumb and we would feel really comfortable and cozy and safe. And when we put the cedar wood on top of our thumb and we put it on the roof of our mouth, we would get that feeling of safety and comfort.
Incredible. Fantastic. Wonderful. So Marina, do you still work online? Do you still take clients online?
Yes, I actually do. I, again, work with all the countries in the world. It's very simple. They would schedule a session and I would do it in comfort of my own home. I don't do Zoom, as a lot of people have conception that you have to see people like on the Zoom in order to do Reiki. But I really don't need to connect, because I connect energetically, and then I call them afterwards to discuss the session and talk about impressions and the feelings that they have during the session. Sometimes that session, it's even stronger than in person.
No. Wonderful. Now I'm asking because if any of our viewers would like to connect with you, I know that LinkedIn, it's Marina Simovic-Pava.
Yes.
And Instagram is Flexhealing.
Yes.
Is that the best way to connect with you?
Yes, or you can just send me an inquiry on flexhealing@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. No, that's great. So, what is your message of hope?
My message of hope. My message of hope is to, no matter how the things seem bad right now, no matter how much problems we have or challenges in life, there's always that spark that shines so bright in us that we sometimes forget to bring it out, but it's ours. And we should connect with that every single day by showing gratitude that we live, that we breathe, that we have healthy family, that we have a roof on top of our head, and that we can give that hope to somebody else, because we are not here alone. Everybody is connected for one reason or another, and there's always hope in that.
Fantastic. Fran.
It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, I've learned so much. I wish the session was longer. I wish we could talk longer.
Yes, for sure.
It'd be nice to get you back for a second.
It would be. Yes, we may have to get you back, Marina.
Oh, thank you. It would be my pleasure. I can talk about this for hours. It's really my passion. It's my life.
Well, and it shows. It's beautiful to see your passion for it and to see just that radiance. You are such a beautiful example of that light you are speaking about. So thank you for showing us your light. That's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Fran, as usual. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And again, if you want to connect with Marina Simovic, Simovic-Pava, P-A-V-A. On LinkedIn and Instagram is Flexhealing or flexhealing@gmail.com. Thank you again for tuning in. If you like us, please subscribe and we will bring you some hope next time.
Thank you.
God bless.
Bye.